Welcome to Ultimate Playlist. I'm Matt, that's Briggs, and this is a show where Briggs and I get together to come up with the best 10 songs around a theme to create its ultimate playlist. And today, our show, we are concentrating on the ultimate title tracks of the 1980s. Briggs, tell the audience back at home what that means.
Yeah, title tracks, an album with a song that has the same title as the album title. It's a common theme throughout music. Yeah, right. But there's some good ones out there, especially from the 80s. We love the 80s anyways.
We love the 80s.
There's a lot of great music there.
Especially after spending like 4 weeks in the 2000s.
And the doldrums of the 2000s was rough. The 80s, there's just a lot of good and diverse music. I don't know how widespread your list is, but mine has some different genres.
I think I wasn't as widespread as I'd hoped. Because there's definitely a genre missing that I tried to find some that might work, but they didn't hit my top 5. But no, it's definitely more diverse than stuff you were hearing. Yeah, we were hearing like all the songs sound the same in the 2010s and 2020s. So no, this is way better. And we've already done this with the 90s before.
Right.
So, we figured we'd go into the 80s. This is the first time we're doing Ultimate Playlist live, though, to X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube. So it's an experiment. We'll see how it goes. And if it feels good, we'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll keep an eye out for some. It's a little bit difficult keeping an eye on comments on X, but I'm going to try to do my best in there. So if people do have comments, then, write them in the chat, and I'll just do my best to find them. I don't know.
Right on.
I think that's it. So
cool.
Shall we get started with your number 5?
Yes. My number 5 is Computer World by Kraftwerk.
I don't know Kraftwerk at all.
Really? Oh, have you never heard that song?
I don't think I've heard that song.
Okay, this so it is a title track. There was another single off of this called Computer Love that was was a bigger single, but we're doing title tracks, so I'm sticking to it. Computer World, this is 1981 Kraftwerk.
Yeah,
oftentimes called the last great Kraftwerk album. It is really good, and I mean they're awesome. There's so much good stuff. I mean, you wouldn't have electronic music without Kraftwerk.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Yeah,
this has some fun, cool stuff. It's got a weird song, Pocket Calculator, which you should check out. You should just listen to this whole album, Matt. It's really good.
I'll check it out. So wait, who does Autobahn? Is that not Kraftwerk?
Same. Yeah.
And that's just earlier.
Correct. That's from the 70s.
That's from the 70s.
So they had albums from like Autobahn. Maybe it was like 74 or something like that, or it's mid 70s. But this is 81. And they made some albums after this, but this is like the last, what people would call like the last essential Kraftwerk album. Right. But it's really good, and the title track is cool. But the whole thing is, the album's about computer technology and how it's enmeshed with human life.
I mean, so, perfect for
but
now.
They said, yeah, we live in a computer world, so we made a song about it. So there you go.
The thing about Kraftwerk that throws me off a little bit is it's electronic music that's not dance music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm.
It's like listening for listeners, for sit down music, electronic.
Kinda. I mean, you could dance to it. I mean, it's like a drone out sort of dance. It's not like as upbeat. But no, I see what you're saying. It's very German, right? It's that kraut the krautrock sound, as they call it.
Right.
But I love it. Great synthesizers. No computers used in the recording of this album, by the way. Completely analog.
What's the drums?
Some synthesizer. You just make some synth oscillator make like a kick drum sound, or however you do it, distort a sine wave or something. Yeah, they're nuts. I mean, you had to make it all yourself back in the day. It's not like you load up a preset. There was not like really like a drum machine. Yeah, it was just sequenced synthesizers linked together, from what I understand.
Yeah, I might not have survived that time. Like, say I were around them at that time, like they were in my peer group, and they're like, "Hey, Matt, we're gonna make this type of music." I would have like seen all of the stuff that you had to do, like all the barriers to entry before you got to actually produce music, and I would have been like, "I'm sorry, guys, I'm out."
You need you need an engineering degree to do it, and
I mean,
Definitely got easier.
I tried Game Boy Music and had a hard time. I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
hitting left, up a bunch of times and then start and then
Right.
I'm just not doing it. Putting all these things on a grid, moving.
Right.
Let me strum, for God's sake.
Totally.
Cool.
I mean, on this by 80,
oh, go ahead.
But I mean, I just want to say by 1981, obviously they had drum machines and things were a little easier, but they're old school, But there is like the Speak and Spell, the classic toy is on this album, just cool stuff. I don't know. I highly recommend checking out Kraftwerk if dig in deep, Matt. There's some good stuff there.
I'm digging in. All right, we'll go to my number 5, which is Tug of War by Paul McCartney.
In another world, we could stand on top of the mountain with our flag unfurled. In a time to come, in a time to come, we will be dancing to the beat played on a different drum.
Love that song so much.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that one. I missed out on this one. No, I have never actually heard that one. I don't think.
Oh, yeah, I really missed out on Paul McCartney for the most part after the Beatles. Like I know a couple of the Wings albums or whatever, but I don't know a lot of his solo stuff. And he has hundreds and hundreds. He might have 2,000 songs. Tons. I have no idea. There's just so many. Yeah. So, but I really missed out. And this album's like pretty good. There's some good stuff on it. This is a really cool song. It builds. And he wrote this right after the death of John Lennon. So they and it's about their relationship. And so they were recording this album. They started recording in it's something like, I don't know, early December. No, must have been late 1980, but then December 9, I think, or December 8 is when John Lennon dies. They put the recording on hiatus for a couple months before they got back to it. But during that time, Paul McCartney wrote this song. And it's super pretty. And there's like, neat little odd time signature stuff, which you heard in this little clip, and a beautiful orchestration. The recording's actually really nice too. But yeah, I should do a better job going back because I don't know, I always kind of I'm so dumb. I hold my nose up like with post Beatles music
stuff. I mean, I'm familiar with some of his solo albums. Was it Ram and
right?
Isn't there one just called McCartney and McCartney 2? Is that
that's right. Yeah,
I just hadn't heard this one.
Yeah, it's good. I really like it. I mean, it's still pretty Wings-ish, I mean,
okay.
I think he released two. Yeah, he released 2 albums, solo albums, while he was still with Wings. But then Wings kind of had a last straw. I think it was sometime in the beginning of 1980 or 1979. They were supposed to do a tour in Japan, and Paul McCartney put 7 ounces of weed in his luggage and got
That's a lot of weed. That's a lot of weed.
For 12 days, dude. It was a 12-day tour. You need 7 ounces
apparently
of the Mary Jane?
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
I guess maybe he was sharing, right? That was for everyone.
I guess, but then what? Put it in some lackeys, because he ends up getting arrested and put in jail for 10 days. And the band's like, okay, well, the tour's done. And they all went home. Right. So that pissed them all off because they're like, you just took a lot of money from our pocket by being stupid. And so
he doesn't need it, but the other dudes from Wings need it.
Exactly. But anyway, so Wings breaks up and he's doing his 3rd solo album, and that's this one, Tug of War, and it's a really pretty song about John Lennon. So that is my number 5.
Right on. Good one.
Go to your number 4.
My number 4 is Let's Dance by David Bowie.
Great one, of course.
It's classic. Yeah.
Short list for me.
Yeah. This is a good one. 1983, kind of Bowie's return to super rock stardom.
Yeah.
This was, it's like one of his biggest hits. The production on this song is awesome.
Sick.
It was produced by Nile Rodgers. That's why.
Of course. Yeah.
Omar Hakim on drums. Like it's just monsters all over the place. Not to mention Stevie Ray Vaughan doing the guitar solo, a then unknown Stevie Ray,
I know.
which is pretty cool. Like, so you get the best of both worlds. You get Nile Rodgers playing the cool lick and Stevie Ray soloing over it. It's a lot of good guitar on this.
Great guitar.
The full length song is like 7 minutes long. There's like trumpet and sax solos and stuff. I'm more familiar with the radio edit,
Yeah, right.
But the whole long one is pretty good. But yeah, this was a huge album for Bowie, and it's a really good song.
I love the horn line that happens in between the verse lyrics where it boo wah doo wah wah. It's like this nice little below the surface chord thing with the horn. So cool. I picture Stevie Ray Vaughan, because I know he was like, David, why would you want me on? Like, we're totally different. Why would you want me?
Mm-hmm.
But Bowie just saw him at, what was it, like Montreux or something, jazz festival.
Yeah, he saw him play
Holy
somewhere, right? Yeah.
shit, and brought him on. Yeah. But I know, like, he talked about it feeling definitely out of his element when he was laying tracks, but he just did his thing. Some nice, nice hammer on, some nice sustain.
Yep.
And
some bluesy touch. That sounds great.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Bob Clearmountain produced this. That guy's a legend. He's worked with everyone. This is at the Power Station, which is a legendary studio. It's just a great, high class, classy, glossy production.
Yeah, Bowie deserves it.
Totally. And he didn't play any instruments on this whole album. Usually he would.
That's weird.
He only sings on it, which is kind of unusual for him.
Very unusual.
Hey, whatever, the band is killing. So whatever.
Leave it to them.
Yep,
for sure.
Sure. I wouldn't want to play guitar in front of Nile Rodgers, right? I mean, come on.
Or Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah, right, for sure.
Oh my God. He's one of my favorites. I put him in my top 10 for sure. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. That live from Elma combo, and the two live discs that that Poochie would go around with, when we were in college or something. I watched the shit out of those, and just like, he's just fire.
He's insane.
He's so good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gone too soon there. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about with David Bowie and Let's Dance?
No, it was a worldwide mega hit.
Mega hit. Going to another worldwide mega hit, and that is Faith by George Michael. I think the thing that ties 4 of my songs together is it's like some of the best bass playing on the entire planet in the history of the world.
Good bass on this. Yeah, right.
This one is so good.
It is good. This was on my short list. This song is good.
It's so good. Yeah. So this is George Michael. Right after post Wham, he's tired of all the critics telling him that he's making unserious teeny bopper music, and George Michael's 25 years old at this time, but he's got all the confidence in the world, and he's like, I can be as good as Michael Jackson, so I'm going solo. And comes out with Faith. And I mean, Faith is not a better album than Thriller Off the Wall, but it's a damn good album and sold a shit, like 25 million copies.
A lot.
Yeah. So good. Great vocal performances all over the place.
Yeah.
He he plays a bunch of the instruments on here, wrote all the songs. He as a 25-year-old, he just sounds so mature, just a great one. And I mean, this is the first song on the album too. It's not the first. He actually released I Want Your Sex first as the first single.
Oh yeah.
But this was the second, which seems strange because I don't know, it just would have aligned it better if Faith the album, Faith the song would have been the first single, first album of him, solo on his solo project, especially because the way that they start it is Faith, the song, starts with a nice, beautiful church organ.
Right.
And I know that you and I talked about this before, but just in case the audience didn't hear me say it, but that song, the church organ is outlining the chords of that song Freedom by Wham. So it's a little like homage to his earlier life, and also signaling his freedom from the teeny bopper image to a more kind of serious approach. But yeah, it's it's just killer. It also won album of the year Grammy, and had a ton of hits, like 5 or 6 hits off this thing. So
the album was huge. That had Father Figure on there too. I Want Your Sex, Faith. What
One More
else?
Try.
Yep. Oh, right.
Love that
Man.
song. Such a great song.
Yeah.
And then Monkey charted too.
Right.
Yeah.
I
So
forgot
it was
about
1,
Monkey.
2, 3, 4. I guess 5 charted.
Yeah.
Faith hit 1. Yeah. I don't think any of the others hit 1, but just a crazy album, crazy song.
George Michael.
George Michael in the house.
Yep.
Shall we move on to your number 3?
My number 3 is Control by Janet Jackson.
When I was 17, I did what people told me. I did what my father said and let my mother mold me. But that was a long ago. I'm in. Never gonna stop to get what I want. I got to have a life.
Sick song.
Yep. Another one. The production is just so good. That's Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis,
Yeah.
who I love.
Prince. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Prince, The Time. You know, they got fired from The Time famously.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is Janet Jackson. I mean, famously, they had a long time collaboration with Janet Jackson. They all co-wrote this. This is from her third album, obviously called Control, 1986. This was a huge hit, huge album. This album has a ton of singles on it too.
Yeah.
This peaked at number 5, so it's another big hit for Janet Jackson. Just a cool song, and great performance, great production. Obviously about her wanting control of her life.
Some parents, some shots at her parents.
Totally. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty in your face. I mean,
It
there's a
is.
whole monologue at the beginning of the song where she talks about, regaining control. And there's a ridiculous video that's like 9 minutes long that has a whole skit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then Jam and Lewis show up with the other dudes from The Time, and they're cruising around. It's a pretty funny video. And then there's it's a huge like live performance, which apparently they lied to the extras who were in the crowd. It was a film in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
So they told the people that they were going to see Janet Jackson perform. What they didn't tell them is that she was just going to play Control like 50 times, and they had to stay in there. So I think people were getting pretty upset about it. There's a lot of issues with the video, but I mean, it's pretty memorable. But yeah, Janet Jackson, Control. It's got some classic Jam and Lewis sounds, production noises in there. Good digital editing or samplers, but I don't know what it's doing it, but
yeah,
they hit the button and it goes Control. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I wonder how much under the thumb of her dad she actually was, or if she was able to escape a lot of that because it more so her siblings kind of trailblazed that.
No, I think he had a lot of control, and he was so powerful at that point. I mean, people didn't want to go against him.
I know Jackson 5 and then Michael's career.
Right. Well, while this was going on, she was trying to like fire him or whatever, get away from his management or whatever. And so this was all kind of a reaction to what was going on in her life.
What a crazy situation. I don't even know, like, on the one hand, you have this amazing art that comes from this family dominated by this dad. So on the one hand, you're like, okay, I'm thankful that all this art existed. Like, it changed music. But on the other hand, you're like, oh, what a terrible dude. And I would hate, it feels terrible that anybody grew up under him. I mean, just
pretty bad.
Terrible. So,
yep.
I don't know. But Janet Jackson, very good career, and few really good albums right in a row. So Rhythm Nation.
This is one of them, right? Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
This album, and this is it's so 80s. It's a really good album too. There's a lot of good songs on it. Nasty. Yep. What Have You Done For Me Lately?
Right.
The Pleasure Principle. There's a ton of songs on here.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome Jam and Lewis production the whole time. So Control, number 3 for me. It's a good one.
Nice. Well, we can move on to my number 3, and it wouldn't be an ultimate playlist if there weren't some controversy about the things that I choose. So my number 3 is that controversy. It's Synchronicity II from The Police. Synchronicity 2 off Synchronicity. Now there's Synchronicity has Synchronicity 1 and Synchronicity 2 on it. Both great songs.
Is that the controversy?
Yeah, because it's 2, not just the name of the thing. How do you feel about that?
I think it's fine.
You're
I feel
easy.
like you could have picked Synchronicity 1 also.
I know I could have, but that's
Either
the thing.
one.
It's like
Yeah.
you might have like knocked me out on a technicality though because I did Synchronicity 2. I
guess.
don't know.
I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, it's
Thank
part
you.
1 and part 2. Like, what if they were in a row? Do you know what I mean? If it was like
Right.
Synchronicity : part 1 and part 2, like, is that
Right.
better? Or I don't know. I think that's fine.
Thank you. Well, I just
and I also like that song, so you
Love
got a
this
double
song.
pass. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I did that. Well, full disclosure, was not on my list because of that technicality, but I'm fine
See,
with it.
so you did notice.
Oh yeah, for sure. I noticed. I just don't really care. I think it's fine. Well, it's a good album and it's a good song.
I think this is my favorite Police album.
It's good.
It's so
It's
good.
really good.
I mean, it just has a ton of amazing songs on this. It's got Every Breath You Take, which overplayed, but really great song.
But a good song for sure.
Great song.
King of Pain.
Wrapped Around Your Finger. Oh, so good.
It's great. It's got a little bit of all of the stuff that the Police do, because it's got Mother, that weird Andy Summers song.
It does. Yeah.
I like that. I like all the weird Andy Summers songs. But yeah, it has a little bit of everything.
It's a little less reggae. I know they kind of this is their 5th and final album.
Right.
And this is Synchronicity 2 is their 3rd single. It hit number 16. So 5th and final album. Their album prior to this was Ghost in the Machine, and they kind of felt like they went overboard with the production. They were using all sorts of crazy synths, and just it took forever. It didn't feel like they were writing like they weren't a 3-piece anymore. It sounded like they were a bigger band. And so they were just kind of disappointed. So they wanted to strip down a little bit. And this one is that. It's more the 3-piece. I mean, the way that, Synchronicity 2, it's very sparse. Even though it sounds big, you got Andy Summers just outlining the chords. He's not like really strumming. You got great bass work, great vocals, and the drums. And there's like some keyboards here and there, but it's not saturated like Ghost in the Machine was. And and I think it just sort of returned. They felt better about it. It felt like they were returning back to their roots of being a 3-piece. But I think this is I've given Andy Summers crap before to you. And I'm not saying, I know it really disappointed you. You see me in a different light now. But it's not that I think he's a very good writer. I just don't know that he just doesn't have a lot of facility, but that's okay. I don't have a lot of facility either, but I can do what I need to do. You
don't think he's a good player?
He's not a good soloist. Every time he solos, he bluffs it. He has a hard time with it. And I think he's got good facility. There are things that he does really well, and he's hitting those things in this song. Like him outlining the chords.
So he's specialized. Yeah, that's kind of one
very
of his
specialized.
things, like doing like arpeggios and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, like
chorus
Message
tone.
in a Bottle even. It's like
totally.
Like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
He's really good at that. And so anyway, I'm trying to get to a compliment here. I think this is him at his best. I love what he does all over this song. Yeah, the chord structure, him picking through it. I just think it's just an amazing piece of writing from him. This is it's a funny video. I watched it today, and it's like they're all in like this future homeless chic.
Okay.
In a very
I
industrial
don't remember
place.
the video.
It's Sting. He's like hanging from a bar. He's got like these. It's like they're all dressed in rags, kind of like future chic rags. He's like hanging from this metal piping and singing the whoa like in the beginning, and then they're all on like these different pedestals and levels, and it's just kind of mechanical and very weird.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, but this is the last one. So they were all kind of pursuing solo projects for the last few years around this time. And so they supported this album on tour, but then they all had their own solo projects to attend to. They went back, got back into the studio, and Stuart Copeland broke his collarbone the night before they were supposed to record. So they couldn't record, and then just everybody sort of disbanded and moved on. So kind of the end of the Police era.
Rough.
Kind of rough.
Great band though.
Great band, a lot of ego. I imagine.
But they backed it up also.
Well,
I feel like you don't get the Police without a bunch of pricks in the band. You got Andy Summers, who is maybe the peacekeeper or something.
And 10 years older. So he's
Yeah,
like,
right.
he'd
So
let
maybe
the
just
kids
a little
fight.
more mature. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you ever see an interview with either Sting or Stuart Copeland, they both have pretty big egos, but they're
Huge.
both pretty entertaining also.
Very entertaining. And also, I mean, you're exactly right. They back it up.
And they're both monsters.
Monsters. Yeah. So, but I like to try to imagine myself having to deal with Stuart Copeland. As much of a fantastic drummer he is, he's just such a space shot and has so much
over
energy.
the top.
Just be
like,
Stewie,
yeah,
buddy.
And he's got a lot of opinions, and you are going to hear them. But he's good on an interview, man. I tell you what, he's really entertaining, and so is Sting. I mean, everyone knows more about Sting, I guess.
Yeah.
With his excesses and whatnot, but he's an awesome songwriter, really great bass player. I feel like underrated as a bass player. You know, people know, but they don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's great, and to be able to sing the way that he does
totally.
while playing bass, it's
like complex rhythm parts on the bass, and then totally.
Yeah, it's not easy to like have these reggae swinging bass grooves, you know, and sing over it
and
like,
be in the pocket and sing in the pocket while the bass is in a different pocket. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. And he can play the lute. Do you remember that album when Sting played all the lute tunes?
He played oboe on this album too.
Did he? Okay. I mean, I'm sure
he
can play whatever.
Dude can play anything.
I got no problem with Sting. I like him.
I have no problem with Sting either. I would imagine if you're Stuart Copeland,
he's over the top though. I think those guys are going to butt heads no matter what, you know.
Well, because if you're Stuart Copeland, you're like, I'm one of the best drummers who's ever lived, and Sting gets all the credit because he's the front man.
Right.
Like, that's not fair. But just sort of the nature of the beast when you're the front man.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I love that song, and I think this is my favorite. There's tons of Police songs I love, all scattered throughout the rest.
They
of
have
the
a lot of really good songs. They have a high percentage of good to bad songs. They don't really have many bad songs, I don't think.
No,
there's just some that you might not like if you don't like the weird stuff, like Mother would be weird,
right? Yeah, but I love the Police. I like them better than Sting solo. That's what I think.
Same.
He went a dunk contemporary on us, so
yeah, he did.
All jazzy.
Right. Anything else on Police? Yeah, my number 2 is Master of Puppets by Metallica.
There you go.
Yeah, this is peak Metallica for me. It's about as good as it gets. This song rules. It's a title track. This is 1986 also, but they had a good run of Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, and then unfortunately Cliff Burton died. But what are you gonna do? But yeah, it sucks because great bass player, really great bass showcased on this album a lot. I mean, Master of Puppets is awesome. It's an extended song. It's like, I don't know, 6-7 minutes long, whatever it is. And extended instrumental sections in the middle. Not really a charting hit until recently, actually. It was featured in Stranger Things. And
that's right.
And similar to that Kate Bush song.
Yep. Climbing that hill.
It went to number 35 and it became a top 40 hit, Master of Puppets.
Whoa.
That's pretty funny, right? Yeah. So people were into it when that show featured it. And I think the dudes from Metallica were psyched about that too.
Yeah.
I mean, Lars is kind of a blowhard. Back in this time period, he still is not a great drummer, but but they rock. I mean, you can't deny that this song rocks. Yep. James Hetfield, probably the best rhythm guitar player.
Yeah.
Or one of them, in the metal genre.
Yeah,
I would
super
say
talented.
Best rhythm guitar player.
Yep.
All the performances are great. It's a cool song. It's about, the dark side that the path of drugs can lead you down, where you are no longer the master of your own puppet.
What was their drug use like? Do you know?
Booze, dude. They were booze guys. Yeah. People called them like alcoholica, I think. I remember stuff too. I mean, it was the 80s, so it was probably Coke and whatnot too, but they were big boozers from what I understand.
Okay. I mean, they survived it pretty well. I mean, they've had a great career.
Yep.
Still sound good. I mean,
they
could still play. Or at least last I checked, they could still play.
Totally. Everything I've heard, I mean, Lars sounds like Lars.
Yeah.
He's the weak link, but
He
whatever,
is.
he's in it. He's the guy, for better or for worse. Take it
Right.
or leave it. You got to have James Hetfield, and you kind of got to have Lars, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But he's fine, whatever. But I don't know. I just like James Hetfield. I think he's awesome.
For sure.
And this is one of my favorite Metallica songs. Had the cassette, of course,
yeah.
back in the day. But
Yeah, I was
it's
never-
it's a classic metal song from a classic metal album.
Yeah.
I think this is, if you had to pick one Metallica album, for me, it's this one for sure.
I have appreciation for Metallica, but it's never been my thing. Black Album I was all right with, of course, because it's popular.
Mhm.
But
Totally.
But yeah, never was my. I like prog, but not metal prog, I guess is what
Gotcha.
I would say.
Okay.
But no, I can totally appreciate it and appreciate Metallica and what they've done for music. I mean,
Matt, this is thrash
band.
metal. This is thrash metal.
oh, I'm
Be
sorry
careful.
about that.
Don't piss off metal fans, dude. You got to get the genre right. This song actually has a quote from a David Bowie song in it. They
really?
lift a riff from Andy Warhol, the Bowie song.
Oh yeah.
And they put it in there, and that's a fun Easter egg to discover if you've never heard it before.
Yeah. I bet most
So
of the
there you go.
metalheads didn't know that though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Thrash metal. So what other types of metal are there?
Are you kidding me? There's like 1,000 million metal genres.
Well, so you just wouldn't call it heavy metal, you'd call it thrash metal?
Heavy metal is like a subset of all metal. And
Okay.
then from there's other subsets. And
I
I don't
see.
want to get into it too much because I know I'm going to say the wrong thing. But
Well, I'm
yeah,
trying to get you in trouble. That's why I'm bringing it up.
okay, well, hey,
I don't want to face the fire by myself.
No, I mean, thrash metal is one of like the classic ones.
Yeah.
And like early Metallica, the Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth,
Yeah, right.
bands like that is the thrash metal thing.
Okay.
But I mean, there's black metal, doom metal. Pick a word and put it in front of metal. It's probably a genre.
Carpet?
Carpet metal, I bet you exists.
Great. Awesome. Okay, well, good number 2. Should we move on? Unless you have anything else to say about Metallica, we'll move on to my number 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
Another ridiculous bass playing song, Invisible Touch.
She seems to have invisible touch. She reaches in and grabs right hold of your heart. She seems to have invisible touch. It takes control and slowly tears you apart. Well, I don't really know her. I only know her name.
From the great Genesis in 1986, their only number 1 hit.
Crazy.
First and only number 1 hit in the United States, which is crazy because of how many damn albums they've sold and how many hits they've had.
Yep.
But just a monster album. It's got Tonight, great song.
Right.
Land of Confusion, great song and video.
Yep. Oh, the
Into
video is
Deep-
memorable.
Throwing It All Away, great
Oh,
song.
wow. Yeah.
All 5 of these singles were top 5.
Crazy.
All 5.
That's like almost the whole album.
It's almost a whole album. And like, they were they were such a dude band for so long just because of their prog roots.
They're
like
prog, yeah.
Even after Gabriel leaves, they're still very prog through the early 80s. I mean, you listen to Abacab and whatever, it's still got a lot of those elements. And finally, their previous album to Invisible Touch, Genesis, sells 5 million copies, and they're like, "Oh shit, we made we made it." But then simultaneously, you've got No Jacket Required, which is Phil, and that sells 25 million, and so now they're really on top of the world.
Yep.
Leading into this, which sells something like 10 million Invisible Touch, or 8 million for Invisible Touch. So just like a crazy run from Genesis, and kind of the last of it, because after this they do We Can't Dance, and that sucks.
That's bad.
That's bad. It's like, ugh. Now,
It's not even just bad. It's just so lame and dumb. Like
cheesy.
what a misfire.
Huge misfire, and then it's over. I mean,
Yep.
it's like you watch someone go from their prime to way too old in the span of just a couple years.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Happens
boomer.
fast.
Yeah.
Right.
This bass playing is phenomenal. That's Mike Rutherford, their guitar player, playing the damn bass line, which is just so sick. Such a sick line. And then the guitar comp is awesome. The musicianship on this song is just so good. I was looking back. It's funny because a lot of these like classic albums. I think this is a classic album.
Totally.
Very formative. I mean, I had it when it came out.
Yeah, I had the tape.
Yeah, I had the tape. But if you look back, a lot of these have very mixed critical reactions to him at the time. Like there was a lot of 3-star reviews for Invisible Touch. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, it didn't help that Peter Gabriel released So the month before, and that's an all-time.
Yeah, it's a monster album. Yeah, I could see how in the wake of So this would get mixed reviews.
A little bit, but like still,
maybe it just got washed away, you know. Well, it's not as much of an artistic statement. There's a bunch of pop songs on here, right?
No,
But
that
they're
is an
good.
art
It's
piece.
really good pop songs.
Excellent pop, like the best of pop at that time. I mean, you don't really get much better than Invisible Touch or Land of Confusion or Into Deep.
Right.
You don't really get much better than that unless you're, maybe name some Prince songs or whatever.
Sure.
It's that level though. It's the top of the game.
Absolutely.
And Peter Gabriel wasn't making that. And I love, Peter Gabriel's. I love Peter. I really appreciate and respect, and very much like Phil, Peter Gabriel's very dear to me though. And so, I'll always kind of go to that side. And I love so much in all those songs, but I cannot, I can't help but say like, this is such a great album and these are such great songs and they're recorded really well. So
agreed.
But yeah, kind of the beginning of the end for Genesis. We Can't Dance actually sold more. I think it sold something like 10 or 12 million copies, which is crazy.
That's bizarre.
That video is so bad with the lizard.
That's like their foray into adult contemporary, right? Like, is that, do you consider that?
Well, I don't know, because it's Jesus, He Loves Me. Those aren't real. They're not like ballads, right? Because you got, I Can't Dance. I mean,
right.
It definitely fits an adult contemporary station. Any adult contemporary station can play all those songs, but I don't know that they feel the same way. They're a little bit more up tempo, but I don't. But yeah.
But it's in the schlock zone. It's in the schlock zone.
So schlocky. It's like one of the schlockiest. It's as schlocky as you can get.
Crappy.
So,
fortunately, they released this first because Invisible Touch is good. It's catchy,
good.
dude. That's a toe tapper. You don't turn that one off if it comes on.
Hook after hook after hook.
Yep.
Like the verse even sounds like the verse makes you want the chorus so bad. It's just, I don't know what it is about it, but it's just amazing hooks.
There's a lot of hooks.
All right, so that's my number 2, Invisible Touch. I guess we're going to your creme de la creme, my friend.
Yeah, my number 1 is Rio by Duran Duran.
Her name is Rio and she dances on the sand, just like that river twisting through a dusty land. And when she shines, she really shows you all she can. Oh, Rio, dance across the Rio Grande.
Yeah, you think he's talking about Brazil, but then he says
Nope.
Rio Grande.
He's not. Well, the inspiration for the album title actually is from Rio, the place.
Okay.
And John Taylor. Speaking of good bass playing, this song has killer bass part. He's a great bass player. Underrated also. These guys are kind of underrated as like a band. Like they're good as a band, They're more remembered as like a fashion band because of the videos or whatever.
Right.
But they rock, dude. And great bass playing. But yeah, he was inspired by Rio, the place, and kind of like the never-ending party and just but Simon Le Bon, when it came time to write the song, he wrote it about a girl named Rio. So there you go. Hey, so it goes. But this album, I mean, this song is great. The album's great. This is Rio was their 7th single.
Yeah.
But this was a mega album. Didn't do well in the States at first, Rio, the song, until Hungry Like the Wolf was like their breakthrough. And then afterwards, this became popular. Went to number 14. So not as, huge a hit, but still a big hit. Memorable video. They're sailing around on the boat. And then there's the woman who is presumably Rio, covered in body paint and whatnot. There's a lot of paint in the video. But Duran Duran.
It was never my flavor. I have to sit down with some Duran Duran though and just listen through it again. For some
the whole
reason,
Rio album's good.
Well, and a lot of people that I respect like Duran Duran. I mean, you like Duran Duran, so I don't know what my problem is. I got to sit down and listen to some.
I mean, for me, it's kind of like Bowie and Roxy music in the 80s, more artsy kind of pop with a little bit of glamminess to it, But the band is good. Like, it's a lot of really, really good bass playing, cool synth stuff, because it is the 80s. and you know they're associated with the videos and stuff, but they have a lot of good songs, I think, and I do like the stylized glossiness of it.
I know you do.
Yeah,
I got to sit down with it and listen to some more. For some reason, yeah, because I know all the good songs. I just it's not like I don't know. It's never been my thing. But I'm gonna try
right
some
on.
more. I need to try
As an album, Rio holds up, I think.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with Duran Duran? Or should we move on to my number one?
No, let's hear your number one.
I mean, it's got to be Graceland.
Mm-hmm.
She said, losing love is like a window in your heart. Everybody sees you're blown apart. Everybody sees the wind blow. I'm going to Graceland. Memphis, Tennessee, I'm going to Graceland.
Sick playing.
Yeah, another great bass play.
I told you.
Tune
It's like I'm
and
connected by
album.
bass.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a classic, all-time
Classic
classic. Everyone loves that song.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Paul Simon has
Really
two
good.
of my favorite albums of all time. Graceland and Bridge Over Troubled Water are two of my favorite albums of all time. I love them both. And this is just a one of a kind album. Like no one has done anything like this, where you're merging these African rhythms with this island music type of feel and with the singer-songwriter. It's like, it's just a totally unique vibe that has never, you just can't repeat. You know what I mean? It doesn't even fit into a genre. Like, what do you call, I don't know what to call it. It's like, I would call it indie, I guess, because I don't know of another umbrella to put it under.
Right. I mean, it's kind of a one of one. So it sounds like Paul Simon, right? You know?
Sounds like Paul Simon.
But it sounds like this album. But you're right. There is nothing that was like this that I had ever heard before or really since. I mean, and if so, it's kind of influenced or inspired by this.
Absolutely. Vampire Weekend is their first couple albums are very Paul Simon and this album oriented.
Right.
Like there's one song in particular, I can't remember the name offhand, but it's like it very much sounds like Graceland. And that's amazing. But they still, I like them very much and they do their own thing. I could just tell the influence, but I don't know of anybody else that could pull this together like this and have it make sense, but it totally makes sense. It may be, I mean, arguably, I don't know, like you could make an argument that this is some of the best musicianship, the best bass playing I've ever heard. I don't, besides like some jazz greats like Jocko or whatever, this album is just ripped
really
apart.
great.
Diamonds on the Soles of her shoes is such a great bass. I mean,
insane.
And it's so unique because it's coming from a culture that's different than the cultures that we're aware of or listening to, right? Because we listen to British music, we listen to American music predominantly, but then these African rhythms and amazing musicianship blended together is something totally different and very unique. And so the bass playing on this album, and then the guitar playing too, is totally unique. It sounds more like an island style, and totally 100% fits. I don't know, like, because I've written folk style music in my life, and I have no idea how I would fit that with African rhythms. Like it just it wouldn't make sense, but he does it.
Well, he's got a bunch of African people playing on it, I think, too. I mean, I don't know how to say the bass player's name. Bakithi Kumalo. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, that's right.
Kumalo.
Phenomenal player. Just one
fretless bass, just monster. And it's super memorable. Like everyone knows, everyone remembers the bass. Like everyone remembers the lick from You Can Call Me Al or whatever, where it's like, totally. And that's been like, there it is. It's been sampled,
Slapped.
It's pretty sick. It is a really unique album. And it's really cool. And it's great. It's really great.
It's great, and it comes at a very introspective time in Paul Simon's life. He had his relationship with Garfunkel just completely deteriorate in the 80s. They got back together to do Concert in the Park in 1981, I think, and they went in the studio because they were going to record again. But Paul Simon's relationship with Carrie Fisher completely collapsed, and so he's really depressed and writing some very introspective music. And so decides, you know what, this actually should be a solo album. Garfunkel, let's do something later. Pissed Art off. He storms out and publicly says, I'm never doing another album with Paul Simon again, ever. And then he goes to like Japan to like walk the continent or something. I don't know, something weird happens with Art after that. But that album becomes Hearts and Bones, a complete commercial flop, which is too bad because it's good. That song is an amazing song. Hearts and Bones, just very I mean, he his his marriage breaks up, and he writes this.
Right.
It's a very haunting and beautiful album. That's a great song, but a commercial flop. And his record company, he had like 2 in a row, and his record company's like, we don't. They kind of don't care. They think that he's kind of done,
Right.
And so they like turn a blind eye to what he does next. So it gives him the leeway to go to Africa,
Right. Make this crazy album.
Make this crazy album. They didn't like. They're like, what is he doing? Whatever.
Yeah.
Screw the old guy. Whatever. But then he comes back with this, and it wins a Grammy. Gets nominated for like 6 Grammys. Sells a ton of albums.
16 million.
Right. Just as it's like his. I don't know. It's like, is it his seminal album? It's hard to say because you have the.
It's got to be
stuff.
his magnum opus, though. Maybe
Gotta be,
because it's a unique statement, and it's thematically consistent. I mean, it's in the U.S. National Recording Registry, as a culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's got to be considered his magnum opus, right?
It is. It's absolutely. Well, yeah, it's besides Bridge Over Troubled Water, it's the only album that he's on that I can listen completely all the way through and be like psyched.
Yeah.
That it's a complete amazing album with amazing songs all the way through.
Yeah, it still sounds fresh. It doesn't sound dated. It just sounds like pretty unique.
Pretty unique. I remember the first time I heard this album, I was getting it was like, I can't remember where my mother was, but my sister and I, we had a babysitter, and our babysitter, I think, was maybe she'd picked us up from somewhere and was bringing us. And she had it on. It had just come out, and she had it on in the tape in her car. And I was like, "What is it?" And it like, even as like a 7-year-old or something, it like hit me like, "Oh, this is like interesting. This is weird or cool or something." And I remember the baby. She loved this album. But anyway, it's been with me kind of my entire life. I've always loved this album.
Good one.
Thank you. Yeah. So what did we miss? I mean, there's a ton of them. There's other
so
good
many.
ones?
I mean, it depends what you consider good. Like if you like Motorhead, Ace of Spades is one of them. That's from 1980. I like that song. That's on my short list. In a similar vein, you got Back in Black, AC/DC, also 1980.
Great song.
Steely Dan has one in Gaucho, but that's not really a great Steely Dan song,
No. Nope. To Michael Jackson, you got Thriller and Bad.
Yeah, you could have done one just with Prince. You got
Right.
1999, you got Purple Rain, you got Sign of the Times. There's 3 that's there,
true. That's true.
And they're all really good.
That's true.
Joan Jett, I Love Rock and Roll. That's a cover though, but it's a good cover.
It is a good cover. Yeah, I forgot about
Eye
that
of the
one.
Tiger, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. Do you have that one?
I forgot that was the title of the album.
Yeah.
Huh. Also, Born in the USA, great song from a very good album. So there you go.
Like a Virgin by Madonna.
And True Blue, both of them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was True Blue in the 80s? Was that? I thought that was maybe 1990, or is that 89? I don't know.
I thought it was 80s, but I could be wrong.
Oh,
You
okay.
can fact check me.
Because there's Like a Prayer also for Madonna.
Oh yeah. Wait a minute. Is Like a Prayer in the 80s?
I thought so.
Oh, maybe. So I guess there's 3.
Yeah.
Everybody had a title track.
Yeah.
There's also Private Dancer.
Yep.
Which is a great one.
Oh yeah.
Dance for Your Money. Do what you want me to do.
Straight Outta Compton by NWA.
That was on my short list too.
Yep.
There weren't a lot of rap. That was the genre that I found. I thought that there would be more of something to choose from.
I think there's just not a lot of title tracks.
That's what I mean. Yeah, because there's a ton of rap, of course. Run DMC
Totally.
didn't have a title track.
Right.
So yeah. But there was Kick from NXS. That album's good, but I don't really. That song's okay.
It's not great. Yeah.
What else did I find? 1984 is the album and is a song, but it's not a.
It's not a. Yeah. Right. Isn't it just like a synth thing? It's like not like a real song or whatever.
No, not like a.
Rain Dogs by Tom Waits. It's not my favorite Tom Waits song. It's a great album. Really
don't
great
like
album.
Tom Waits, so I would never.
You don't
put
like
that
Tom
on
Waits at all, huh?
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
Too bad.
I know.
I like him, and his band is great. He always has Mark Rebo playing guitar and stuff, and that guy's
Rebo's good. Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. There's also Bark at the Moon was Ozzy's.
Oh yeah.
That's a good song.
Is that 1980?
83.
83?
Yep.
That is a pretty good one.
You've got another Bruce Springsteen. You got The River as well, which is a good song. A lot of people say that's their favorite Bruce Springsteen song or album. That's 1980. A couple others like Building the Perfect Beast actually is a song from Don Henley off that album. The album's good, but that song is not good.
What about this is a good one. Private Eyes, Hall & Oates.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Ah.
That might have been that.
Yeah, it's
that
on
might
my
have snuck
short
in
list.
there.
Yeah.
Might have snuck in there.
a
Sports
good
too.
one.
Huey Lewis had a sports
Yep.
song.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Not their best song, but
Right.
tons of them. Hysteria too is a
Hysteria.
good song
Yep. I saw that one.
on Def Leppard, but
Yep.
not their best. The good song, but not one
No,
of their
but
best.
it's not their best. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those
That's
are the
all
ones
I
that
had. Yeah.
Yeah, but a ton of them and a ton of good ones. So
Yep.
there you have it. And unlike some of the other playlists we have, I don't really have a lot of thoughts about this. It's not like there's any like things that string these together. They're from the 80s, but they're from all over the 80s. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just a stylistic choice on whether or not the artist decided to name the album after a song or a song after the album or whatever. Some
That was
people
it,
do
really.
it, some people don't. It's kind of an easy way out on one hand, but if you name it after the lead single or something, makes sense for your branding to have everything have the same name, maybe.
yeah, actually, that's a good question. It's like, what about the ones that the song is not the single that they run with, and it's
Right.
not one of their better songs? Like, what were they thinking?
Right.
Why would they, like, In Excess? Why'd you call it Kick? I mean,
It's a good album title.
I guess it's a good album title, but the song isn't very good. Maybe they have the album. No, they must have the song first, you'd think. I don't know. But like, what are the, yeah. What about, Riptide was another one that Robert Palmer had. Robert Palmer, that's a pretty good
okay.
album, but that song isn't very good. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think you'd want to name it one of the goods. Maybe they thought they were good though. I don't know.
Maybe, right. Maybe they just didn't know.
Maybe it's just, we should tell them.
Yeah. We're telling them now.
Or tell them now.
Hindsight's always 2020.
That's true. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about before we call it good?
No, that's all I've got.
All right, cool. Well, this has been Ultimate Playlist, where we have talked about the best title tracks of the 1980s, and we will I imagine we're going to do this again live next Saturday, 1 p.m. So
Yeah.
we will see you all then. Goodbye.